Welcome to Yoga with Natalie Saunderson. This short series is actually going to be the first of two parts, and I had a lovely request for somebody who wanted a sequence that was perfect for their period or menstruation. And so before we begin, I wanted to share a little bit of insight around the style of yoga and also a few ways that I feel are really supportive of moving through that part of your cycle. And first and foremost, as a woman who's taught a lot of different women, and actually hosted a lot of different women's circles back in the day, I think it's really important that we make sure that we're not expecting our experience of a menstruation to look like anybody else's. And so assuming that you're in a range of experiences and sensations that aren't taking over your life, you're going to have some regular shifts happening in your body around the part of your month that moves you through menstruation. And I'm just going to talk about what happens briefly in the luteal stage, moving into the menstrual stage, because as women, I don't think that we're taught enough about our own bodies. As men too. I would definitely agree with that. So what happens energetically in this shift as you move from the luteal stage, which is after ovulation, into the cycle where you're actually bleeding, menstruating, is that your body prepares and is moving through a process of big shifts in your hormones, which your body is going to experience in different ways. You're going to probably also notice big shifts in how much energy you have available to you, which is going to likely translate to a lot of different things that you might not relate back to your cycle. So again, I want to suggest that one of the most helpful things that we can do for ourselves is to observe how we support ourselves / approach that time of the month. And I say this coming from a household of all women when I was younger, in that every single person has different things that might soothe, nourish, make them feel relaxed as you're moving towards your few days of actually bleeding. And there's a few reasons why I think it's important to kind of first explore your relationship to approaching your cycle, because there's nothing worse than hearing, women share. It's fine to share that that's what you're going through. It's not so fine to use as an excuse or kind of bash what your body's moving through. I understand in some ways that it cannot be exactly always perfectly timed, although in nature's eyes it's always perfectly timed. It's just important to know that you are also showing up for your body when it is moving through that time of the month. And on a physical, energetic level, when you are telling your body something, if you're telling your body, oh no, here I go, or I'm not looking forward to this, what you're actually doing is creating more tension in your body, which could actually increase the amount of cramps or discomfort that you feel. And depending on who you read up on, and there's definitely a lot of women out there who say that cramps aren't a necessary part of a cycle. In my eyes, I don't really think that we need to create a box of what is and isn't normal. I think what we need to do is remove the box and allow each of us to kind of approach that time of the month learning about what our bodies are needing. And so on the yoga level, traditionally, there is a sequence in Iyengar yoga that is very much about lengthening up and creating space in the belly, the way that you would if you were dealing or moving into a pregnancy, which relaxes some of the connective tissue, the fascia in the belly, which allows for less gripping. And also it's very heavy on lengthening of the lower back, because obviously that's where a lot of the tension and the musculature of the downward squeezing is happening. That being said, this video is going to be kind of gearing us towards a more gentle, nourishing approach to the practice, where we get a time to also just be a little bit quieter. And this is one of the reasons that I feel yoga is so beneficial right before you menstruate, even if you're experiencing a shift in your energy. And so the next video that I do on the same topic of menstruation is actually going to be a little bit more fluid in case you find yourself with, a bit more need to move, right? Kind of wring it out. And there's usually, and I'll use my own cycle as an example, there's a period right before, a few days perhaps, or a window right before you move into the menstrual cycle that your energy picks up, and then you kind of go down into the release mode and the lethargy or the whatever it is that you experience. And this is very, very common for the body to do. It's actually quite brilliant. And the body does this also usually right before you get sick. And it's like everybody comes together, all the energy is focused towards one thing, all systems are firing, we want to get through this, and then you go into that quieter mode. And if you can relate to this, then I suggest that you ride that wave of energy, right? You stay active, you move, so that you can actually relax deeper and enjoy that downtime. And the body's actually really needing downtime. And the difficult thing about the modern women is that we don't always have the luxury, or we don't always choose to make the space for that downtime. And I say this with no judgment because I'm a mother of a 4-year-old, and sometimes I understand that things aren't really about the theory of creating them the way that you wish. They're also about the practical reality that's in front of you. But ideally, there's still the hope that you can keep this knowledge in you so that you can make choices as you move through this cycle that help you manage your energy in a way that doesn't leave it leaking or you exhausted. And so again, I'm talking to every woman who's experiencing a range of sensation or ways that the body is kind of responding to what's happening in a normal range. And I'm going to use normal here because if it's not normal to me, you're having pain take over a few days of your life and you're bedridden. And for me, that would be a cue to go and ask for more help and support. So if you're working through a range of emotions that's got some cramps going on, maybe some irritation, maybe a few headaches, maybe you've noticed a shift in your sleep or appetite, all very normal. For me, I experienced a change in my skin because my temperature is changing and I'm kind of doing a bit of different releasing through my skin. All of this to me is things and ways that we can learn to work with the body so that we can create a much smoother experience. And when we look at the Iyengar way of practicing, we want to also lengthen the body up out of this cramped downwards kind of area of the body. We also want to basically help ourselves relax into the process. And if I know anything about pain, it often will have you react and grip when you feel it initially. And so one thing that I find really helpful when I'm uncomfortable is to remove as many things from my plate so that I can just relax and focus internally. And some people find that a distraction is useful, but what your body is actually wanting is to just release and focus on this task that it's been given. And generally speaking, distraction will work for a while until it doesn't, and it can actually leave you quite exhausted if that's the route you take. So what we want to do is, again, create this time where we listen to the energy that's approaching our cycle and then decide and design appropriately how we're going to respond. So maybe we do less, maybe we go for that extra, activity right before, and then we can lay low, and then we can rest, and we can relax, and we can do the things in our day that we know are going to help us feel nourished, cared for, and as relaxed as possible. Okay, so before we begin, I just want to add one more kind of tidbit. If you are choosing to do a yoga practice, and again, this one's going to be more of a hatha, restorative type 20-minute flow, another really kind of useful tip that I do for myself is I let myself reach for things with intention. So I might take my time to do my hair before my cycle. I often get the desire to home down or to cook more at home and not go out as much. You might want to change the way you dress or kind of choose your favorite yoga outfit. I definitely suggest finding something that makes you feel good and is not very tight around the waist and relaxed, right? So nothing's kind of, every part of your outfit should feel quite kind of easy to move in and loose. there's anything else you want to add to your space, whether that's a few candles, music, all of this is actually the way that the feminine thrives in beauty. And so just connecting to the feminine in general, right? The feminine element of yoga, the feminine essence, is going to help you step into the process, versus if you were to approach it with the masculine attitude, it would be, let's get this done, let's hurry it through, I don't want to deal with this right now, it's not the right time, right? So it's directional, which is very useful in some ways for other processes. But in this regard, dealing with a natural flow of the woman's body, I find that whatever makes you feel, you know, really in your feminine, making the perfect cup of tea, choosing to do some art, having that long conversation with a friend where you really share what you're feeling, that's going to actually have you relax deeper into the process of menstruating. So let's begin. I do not have a bolster in my home studio, so what I'm going to use instead is 2 blocks for a bit of height, and I'm just going to stack them together. I could even get a bit more kind of legit and gather a really cozy blanket on top and just drape it over the whole thing for a bit of extra height. I'll let you just pause for a moment, gather anything that you feel like you need around you, blanket, sweater, whatever it is, and then come back to your mat. Okay, so we're going to start by extending laterally along the body so that we can fold deeper forward and back. So I've got my meditation cushion just behind me, and then I'm going to place my right leg out to the side, tucking my left leg in. Now, if you have any issues with your knee, you can always move and adjust the foot accordingly. But I'm going to take this block, or you can use a pillow, or you can use that bolster or cushion, anything that's going to serve the same purpose. And I'm going to lay my right forearm along there. Now, as I drop my torso over towards this right side, I'm not reaching, right? I'm just allowing myself to kind of rock forward and back in cat-cow. And you might notice that I've also allowed this right leg to relax. So this is not flow, this is not power. I will offer a flow that is a bit more engaged in the next video. So I want you to just explore what's leading you towards sensation, where it might be sitting. So again, you're just kind of moving the spine, inflection and extension, just chin in, very similar to your cat-cow motions. One more time. Good, then you're going to take an inhale, lengthen your chest forward, move that support, whatever it is, out in front of the leg, and place both hands or forearms on it. So you can place your forearms on it. Now you're on an angle, so you're going to feel this lengthen straight out of your pelvis. This might be yay intense or a lot intense, but just breathing here. And you can even go right ahead and drop your head down, fully letting that stretch move up towards the neck. And just letting your exhales feel a bit like sighs, the way you approach the end of the day, you're turning off the lights in the house kind of thing. Just really letting yourself land in your body, right? Release all else as you practice. So I'm rocking very naturally just to explore along those ropey muscles of the back on the left side of the spine. What wants to lengthen? What wants to release? Good, let's take 2 more here. You're going to take your hands down, slowly roll your way up. Now keeping yourself upright, you're going to take your hands, right hand in front of your leg, left hand behind you, and you're just going to gently turn over that left shoulder. And the reason we turn, even if you are on the menstruation part of your cycle, is that it does help you release and kind of move downwards. Shift anything that needs to be released out of your body, out. One more breath in. Relaxing the belly as you twist. Good, and then turning back to face forward and taking whatever prop you have away from you And then just putting your feet out in front of you, a little further than you might normally do, depending on your practice. I always like to add pillows and comfort when I am kind of on my first few days anyway of my period, just because it feels like I like that comfort more than normal. Okay, so you're gonna start to roll in circles slowly, doesn't matter which way you go. And don't worry about the back bend, right? Sometimes we really kind of arch up and back. This is just really about exploring the circumference of your waist. Let your belly completely relax. If you need support for the knees, then you know what to do. Just place something underneath the legs. You can even, if you're feeling tired, drop your head in right away. And what this does is kind of take away the natural desire in the brain to be aware of your surroundings. You can close your eyes as well. Make your breath as steady as you can. It can be a 4 count. If you practice often, try and make it longer. With a slight extra oomph at the bottom of your exhale, take one more circle in this direction before you shift it in the other way, right? So inhaling. And another really nice thing, which is possibly even a third video, there's acupressure points along the body in the Chinese meridian way of looking at the body that we can also help our body release deep tension, right? Particularly in the kidneys, all through the stomach, up through the psoas, the inner groin, common areas where the body will feel gripped or like you've really worked hard, even though you probably haven't done anything physical. It's just the body's way of continuously contracting so that you release through the cycle and process of menstruation. Take 2 more slow circles, right? It's actually quite amazing to know more about how the body is naturally built. Good. Coming up to center, take a big breath in. Stick your tongue way out. Good. Shift to the other side. So now extending that left leg, and you're going to take the block on the inside. And if you extend, another thing that happens is less hydration in your body, so in your cells. That might be why you feel more tight or tense. And that just means also up the amount of water you're drinking. And you might feel it as tighter muscles, right? So taking your left forearm onto the block, and again, not reaching, right? Don't go that full tilt yet. Just kind of waving back and forth as you inhale. Make sure that leg is as bent as you need it. Just small kind of wave-like pulsations through the spine. If you want to really let the head go, then do that. It should feel more like a pulsation of the body through the breath. So I find holding things, gripping things is not what the body craves when you're moving through cramps or bloating or water retention, right? It's all about the flow. Big breath in. So second chakra, right? The water element. There's so many polarities in the body that also are very, very complementary when you look at what is the body going through and what does it need. Right, so in this case, we're working the sacral, the second chakra, the literal location of your period. So just observe. One more breath in, out. Inhale. You're going to turn and walk yourself slightly forward. Place whatever block or prop underneath you and start to just drop your head down. So when we notice more of the traditional kind of lineage of how to view the yoga practice, from the masculine to the feminine to the Shiva to the Shakti, right, Ida to Pingala, we can use the kind of associated qualities to help understand the best way to support ourselves. So when you think of the action of water, right, the element of the second chakra, right, it ebbs and it flows. So it pulses literally. It's also the way emotions are moved through your body. Emotions, right, they don't just land in their solid pieces of mass, right, they move. So as much as you want to in this flow, just let yourself kind of wiggle around. One more breath. And then walking your way up, and after that, you're going to inhale, taking that left hand in front, right hand behind, and relaxing this leg, not going too full tilt, just lifting and twisting. You should feel this kind of right around where the navel sits. Big breath in. Out. One more breath. Good. Turning to face forward. Now tucking that left leg in, and let's move towards a puppy pose or heart melting pose. Anahatasana. So fingers, middle fingers facing forward. This can also be on the bolster, the pillow, the blanket, whatever you got. You're going to walk your knees back, and instead of child's pose, you're going to let your knees be a little wider, drop your forehead down, and just relax your belly completely. Now, if this feels good, to inch your fingers forward, and your shoulders are safe, then do so, and you're going to get even more length through the front and back body. If you feel like, I just want to completely yield here, relax your elbows on the floor and just breathe. Belly is soft. Relaxed. 3 more breaths. It's likely as well that you might feel something release, so that might feel like a cramp, it might feel great, it might feel delicious right off the bat, but it can also be moving, right? So moving energy, moving stagnation can show up as a cramp here, so then it will release. Just keep breathing through it. Good, 1 more breath. Walking your hands underneath your shoulders, and then keeping your feet as wide as the mat. You're going to basically lean to your left knee and then to your right knee. It's kind of like you're rinsing the water in a bathtub to the back and front of the tub, which is the right and left side of your pelvis. Just moving from side to side. Try not to drop your head so you cut off that flow of breath. Down through the back of the throat. Good, 2 more. Last one. Good. I am going to ask you to draw your knees together and sit on your heels. Now, if that's not comfortable, you're going to draw your feet wide, whatever you're using to sit a little taller and sit that inch taller, right? So now wherever you are, whether you're sitting on a block, you're going to lean forward and lay your belly right on your legs. Okay, your feet are wide if this doesn't work for your joints, and lift up. Widen everything and try that. Now it's a really amazing version to have a bolster run the length in between your thighs so that you can just rest that bit higher. Also really great. I don't have that bolster yet, but you can imagine it there. Just rest back, knees wide if there's any issues with your joints. If there isn't, use your thighs for that imaginary bolster. Good, 5 breaths. And just really feel that breath move up and burst open any areas of the back that feel tense, that feel tight. Try and breathe right towards them. Last one. Coming up slowly. You're going to round your way up onto your hands and knees. You can widen your knees a little bit. What you're going to do is lean off to the left hand, not quite into plank pose. You're rounding. Exhale back to center. So then you're going to inhale your way over to the right hand. A little knee pop there. Exhale back to center. So what you're doing is you're moving not only the hips, right? Another knee pop. Exhale back. You're creating movement like a stomach massage. Inhale back. Not quite Nollie because it's too intense for pre-menstruation. Nollie is that abdominal fire where we create movements in the muscles, the 4 layers of muscles in the core to rinse the digestive tract. For menstruation, it's a bit too much. So it's actually not recommended through the Yogi's Sutras to do that practice for women before their cycle. But a little bit of movement, a little bit of fluid kind of flowing is actually fantastic. One more. Okay, now we got that longer hold to release the lower back a little further. So I'm going to offer you that wide-legged squat. Now, if you come down and it's way too tight, because again, as I mentioned, it's very common that your muscles are going to be in contracting mode, which means that when you go to stretch, you're going to be a little tighter. So try this. You might sit the feet a little higher, and then you can sink down. Now for me, this already feels really juicy. Couple of options. You can just come upright and lean down into the pelvis. This is going to be great for your groin, right, for the belly. If you have the flexibility and it's not going to agitate anything, sink even deeper and just drop your chest in and down. It could be a little intense though, especially if you have quite a bit of cramping. So I suggest no more than 5 to 7 breaths here. Again, observing your energy through your breath. Are you kind of gripping? Are you halting? Are you having trouble lengthening the breath? Inhale. Long exhale. Release out your mouth as soon as you feel that body's desire to. 2 more. Beautiful. Now supporting yourself to come out, you can take your hands right underneath you, slowly breathing your way up through your spine. You might already feel a big shift. Taking your hands behind you, you're going to sit back for a moment, move the props off out of the way, and just let your knees drop to the left as you inhale, open your chest, and exhale over to the right. Big breath in. Exhale to the left. Big breath in. To the right. Okay, so now moving towards a more restorative resting position. Couple of options. If your lower back is really agitated, then I do not suggest taking reclined bound butterfly, Supta Baddha Konasana. If your lower back has a lot of tension in it normally, without even having your period, then I suggest what you do is take your blocks or your pillow right underneath the thighs between your kind of sit bones and the back of your knees and just lift the legs a little bit. And what that's going to do is create less pressure for your lower back, okay? This can also sometimes bring up some cramping because what you're doing is now releasing the compression through the front of the belly. For the sake of relaxing further, you can open the arms up instead of down by your sides, and just give yourself some time to open up your heart space. I find when I am close to that time, I crave alone time, right? Which is sometimes difficult to get. The other option is to take reclined butterfly. Feet together. So you've got this pretty much in a couple of ways. It can be under the knees if you're quite tight, lower under the thighs, and just roll your way down through the spine. Tuck your shoulders, big breath in. Open your arms, keep your back of your neck long, and exhale. Good. Now just be here and receive. Let your belly really fill naturally, and then balloon up and out. See if you can almost over exaggerate it so you're really releasing that tendency to grip the belly. Now, if this feels like heaven to not move and you just need rest, rest, and more rest, then please stay where you are, keeping the eyes closed and really threading the breath longer and longer. I'm going to give you one more option here, and that's to take the elbows down by your sides, keeping the hips and the legs exactly where they are. You're going to press into your elbows and move your torso slightly off to the left. Now what this is again, lengthening the side waist. Good. Listening to the body that you have prior to menstruation, right? So not expecting too much from this practice, just looking and approaching it from a place of support, love. Again, I naturally started to rock my head, so a big suggestion is to do whatever the body's asking you to on the mat. If there's a pose that's calling you in, there's likely a reason. Good, one more breath. Now, without moving fast, right? You're supporting yourself the whole way with breath as you inhale, elbows in. Just lift your chest and take your time using the elbows like little kickstands to walk your torso up and over to the right. Now you feel that length out of your left hip and then open your arms wide. Good. Big breath in and out. 4 breaths here. Good. One more breath. Drawing those elbows close as you breathe in, lift your chest and work your way back to center. One last stretch to interlace the fingers and press the palms up overhead, really lengthening out of your belly, freeing the abdomen from gripping. Big breath in. Exhale out. Now you can take the hands carefully to either sides of the legs, under the thighs, draw them together, and then use this rolling off to the side transition. So it requires less effort as you make your way up to a seat. Now this is our last pose. It may or may not feel enticing, depending on what is happening in the back of your body. Again, pillow underneath your legs, the thighs, a little bit of height for your seat so that you can naturally tip forward, and you're going to lift your chest up and release. Now you've also got the option to place your elbows on either sides of you, so you're not going too far. It's amazing if you do have a bolster. I also suggest trying to lay one across your thighs so that compresses your belly up and you really lift up and out, exposing kind of the tendrils of the lower back. You can sway, breathe in. This is not about going as deep as you can, right? This is not an active pose. So even let your toes soften after a while. Your belly release fully. And imagine you had 2 small nostrils as far down as you can feel along your spine, and just breathe right into them. Soften into that exhale. Let's take 2 more here. Feel free to stay for as long as you need if you're being asked to. Last one. Okay, you're going to walk your way up slowly. Coming up to a nice tall spine. Now a couple of suggestions. Right into Shavasana and letting yourself receive that full body relaxation. The only other posture that I would suggest is legs up the wall. And as we know, our bodies are normally more dehydrated before leading up to a period. So if you're someone that's on your feet a lot, moving through menstruation, that's a lot of downward pressure that your body's having to work really hard to then pump up back to the heart, right? And you're also losing a lot of blood and iron. So if you don't already know, I'll show you quickly and then we'll wrap up. So you usually get into this. This may or may not feel good for your body. You're going to swing your legs up. Use your elbows to scooch your legs right against the wall. They can still be bent, right, if you're a bit tight. And just open your arms. Now this is a really great way to get blood flowing back up to the heart. Okay, this might also feel really good for sore, tired feet and legs. Coming out, you move in the same way, or you move out the same way. And for now, I'm just going to walk you through a short kind of closing. If you're in Shavasana, just laying on your back and making yourself as comfortable as you can. I'm going to offer the option to put your hands somewhere onto your belly or onto your pelvis, anywhere that you feel kind of that they're being called to. It could be the heart. And you're just going to continue to direct your breath to the space under your hands. Allowing your entire physical body to release into the floor. It's as if you yield any attempt to grip, any attempt to control, any attempt to engage, just relaxing as fully as you can into your own body. Now, through your hands, I want you to connect to the movement of the breath. Maybe you feel the reverberation of your heartbeat. Maybe you feel so tired you drop a few more inches energetically into the floor and just do even less than you can imagine doing. Right, so this is a cycle that is woven throughout nature. So the quieter we get, the more we relax into, and the more we observe, the more we can align with its natural rhythm. With each exhale, I want you to soften in expectation. Soften any part of you trying to control or speed up. Soften into surrender. And soften into that magic that can often arise through this process. Shift in dreams, shift in emotions, shift in intuition. Thank your body for the last 2 breaths here. Breathing fully into your hands. Last one. Placing your hands in prayer if you're still on the floor. Tucking your thumbs into your chest. And honor this ancient cycle that we are all woven into and connected through. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste. Please do take your time moving out of that practice. And if you enjoyed it, there will be a part 2, a more active, fluid flow following up on this video. If you haven't yet, you can feel free to subscribe to this channel and you'll get notifications about when that arrives on YouTube and for you to enjoy. Take care.